I am that gratitude guy, David George Brooke. And gosh, that makes it a tough act to follow after Diane, Christelle, Adrienne. I'll just go, I don't really have much energy. I just would like to tell you I'm going to do. No, I'm easily the oldest person in the group by far, but I've always had a lot of energy. I've always had a lot of enthusiasm. And for me, my story started back when I was 19 years old. I graduated from high school and I went to the University of Washington, and I went and gave a talk to a high school that I had a teacher that went to. And I went out to my car and I sat down. This is 1969 and I was 19. And I decided right then I wanted to be a speaker. And life kind of got in the way, as it does for a lot of us. And it took me 42 years later, until about 7 or 8 years ago, to finally realize my dream of becoming a speaker. And I'd been managing Nordstrom stores and Lowe's and these big box stores and so forth. But all the way along, I never lost track of this dream of wanting to be a speaker and motivating people and impacting lives and making a difference and so forth. But I'd had a lot of tragedy that came along the way. My folks had died when I was young. My mom passed away of cancer. My father took his own life. My wife passed away. I had several friends die. And so along the way, a friend of mine one day had this very pivotal conversation when he says, have you ever heard of a gratitude journal? And I had not. And so I said, well, what is it? Well, you write a journal every day about what you're grateful for. So I kind of started down that path, and I thought, gosh, this could be, I quit Lowe's and made the pivot at 62 years old to become a speaker and I finally had the subject I was looking for, which is gratitude, which is so impactful. And so as I went on the speaking career, if you will, I remember when I started doing one talk every month or so, or maybe a couple talks a month. I now do 2 to 3 talks a week. I do also coaching, and it just seemed like such a great fit when I met Cornelia to add podcasting to my repertoire, if you will. So I'm going to be hosting this new show called That Gratitude Guy Podcast. In fact, I think Diane and Christelle, I think it's right around your time. It's going to be the first and third Fridays of the month at noon. And I think one of you guys said the same things either right before or after that. So that might be a great tie-in. But the theme for this is going to be digging deeper into gratitude, because we've just gone through this incredibly tough year, possibly or probably more than likely the worst year any of us have ever gone through. And so many people have struggled. And so not only was there the normal things that I apply in my talks, where I do a lot of interactive, a lot of exercises, very experiential. We do make a list, write this down, give me a high five in the screen, all these kinds of things to give people tools to fight some of these negative gamma rays that are coming at us. And it's just so nice. I did a talk yesterday and went through all these people, and they were holding up their little thing. They wrote this down, they wrote that down. And it's designed to give people really actionable items to do to feel better about who you see in the mirror. And it's interesting, Cornelia, you mentioned the little voice, and I think it's so true. We have these 2 ears and 1 mouth, and you're supposed to use it in that proportion. But those 2 ears listen to what this mouth says. And I'll tell people, I don't forget Diane Solano, Cornelia Bilga, Diane McClay, Adrienne Craig. Once I get a name, I don't forget it. And people will say to me all the time, I'm terrible with names. I go, you keep saying that, you're always going to be terrible with names. So just listen to that self-talk you're giving yourself. So it's so important. And through those exercises and things, again, it's having things that are actionable. The biggest piece that I do, and when I go into the podcast, it'll be having people that are talking about their experiences, how gratitude impacted them, their inspirational stories, their motivational stories. But there'll also be tools on every podcast about things like the gratitude journal, how you write in a gratitude journal. It takes 5 minutes, why it's so important, why it's so impactful, why writing is so much more important than this thing, typing on the computer, which is fine, and talking is fine. But if I look at the center, or the top rather left of my gratitude journal, the Brooker's Daily Gratitude Journal, there's a little saying right here. It says, if you think about it, it's like a dream. If you talk about it, it inspires you. But if you write about it, it empowers you. And there's something about, I am so grateful to Cornelia Stephanie with 2 first names, that I enjoy her so much. And she asked me to be in a podcast and so forth, that just plants it. So I'm really excited about it. And all you guys' energy is very infectious. And I was actually, full disclosure, I got 15 seconds left. I was doing a long walk this morning. I'm listening to podcasts. So I type in the gratitude podcast. I got to hear this guy, this gal, whoever it is. I swear, I tell you, I knew I was going to be talking to you in an hour. He was going, that's so interesting. I think gratitude is really important. what do you think? And I went, wow, there's some energy. So, people, energy is very contagious. And so when people feel it's like, listen, I go, why did I have to go last with all this energy? For gosh sakes, holy cow, what an act to follow. So, but I'm excited because I think it's to make a big difference.